Welcome back to the lab. For the past 13 weeks, lab members, we've been, well, completely obsessed with the pure mechanics of building your financial fortress. We're talking algorithms, compound interest, investment engines, the whole shebang. But today we're making a massive pivot. We're actually going to look at what that fortress is built for. Because let's be real, if you're just stacking bricks without a floor plan, you aren't really building a house, right? You're just building an incredibly expensive wall. So let's dive right into this week's core experiment.
Now I want to validate a feeling some of you might be experiencing right about now: burnout. You see, there's a highly dangerous side effect to intense financial education, and it's what we clinically refer to as the miser trap. This happens when you get so unbelievably good at saving money that you actually forget how to live. You might be sitting on a massive pile of capital, but if you're miserable, lonely, and exhausted in a dark room just because you refuse to pay the electricity bill, well, your financial strategy has completely failed you. Here in the lab, we recognize that watching a number go up in a bank account, that is not the true metric of success. Lifestyle design is. Money is literally just the apparatus we use to get there.
So, here's our lab protocol for today. 1. Escaping the miser trap. 2. The money dials experiment. 3. Buying back your time. 4. The rich life protocol. And finally, 5. Your week 14 task.
All right, phase 1, escaping the miser trap. You know, the old traditional advice always tells you to budget. It tells you to track every single penny, feel intensely guilty about buying a latte, and basically restrict your life until you're old, tired, and deeply caffeinated. Well, in the lab, we say, stop budgeting. Start designing. Today, we're running an experiment on what we call conscious spending. Think of it as the anti-budget. The goal here is to ruthlessly cut costs on the irrelevancies in your life, so you can spend extravagantly on the absolute essentials. It's really about channeling your capital with laser precision.
Moving on to phase 2, the money dials experiment.
I want you to think of your financial life as a giant control panel with a bunch of sliders or dials. Everybody has a specific money dial. This is that one very specific area where deploying your capital brings you a massive, undeniable return on happiness. For some lab members, it's travel. For others, it's dining. You know, eating out at those amazing Michelin star restaurants. For others still, it's health, convenience, or maybe self-improvement, like buying literally every single book you see without a second thought. The key here is you have to identify yours. And the hard data proves a pretty fascinating point. General frugality, which is trying to be cheap across the board in every single category of your life, leads straight to burnout. It completely exhausts your decision-making reserves. But on the exact opposite end of the spectrum is selective frugality. This is the practice of being incredibly intentional, and let me tell you, it yields absolute freedom. You do not have to be universally cheap. You just have to be highly selective about exactly where your resources flow.
So, how do we actually apply this in the real world? It's simple. Identify your top 2 dials, your absolute peak joy areas, and turn them all the way up to 10. Spend extravagantly right there. But, and this is the clinical part, you must simultaneously zero out the things you fundamentally do not care about. If designer clothes or having a fancy car don't actually move the needle on your personal happiness, turn those dials strictly to 0. No guilt, no societal pressure, just the cold, hard optimization of your joy.
Which brings us to phase 3, buying back your time.
Listen, handing over a little bit of currency to get the sand in your hourglass flowing back upwards, that is the most advanced move in lifestyle design. And the research is completely clear on this. Spending money on time-saving services delivers a higher return on investment for your happiness than literally any material possession you can buy. No joke. Purchasing a house cleaner, securing grocery delivery, or paying a premium for an apartment with a closer commute will consistently beat buying a new TV or a fancy new watch in terms of pure, unadulterated happiness dividends.
Let's anchor this concept of the happiness dividend with a specific clinical input cost. Let's just say $50. Imagine taking a $50 bill and deploying it toward a laundry drop-off service this week.
Trading that $50 to get back 4 hours of your life is, honestly, a mathematically perfect trade. I mean, what can you do with those 4 hours? You could work on the investment engine we built back in week 7, or, far more importantly, you could spend 4 uninterrupted hours playing with your kids on a Saturday morning instead of, fighting to fold the fitted sheets. We use our wealth to surgically delete the tasks we hate, so we can maximize the hours we love. All right, phase 4, the rich life protocol. So, what is your rich life? I really want you to pause for a second and reflect on that. Society constantly tells us it's supposed to be a private jet or a mega yacht, but the data shows us a rich life is usually much quieter than that.
It's found in small, powerful autonomies. It's the ability to walk into a cafe and buy a coffee without having to check the price or your bank balance first. Or maybe it's taking a month-long vacation every year. It is highly, highly personal.
In the lab, we codify this by writing what we call our rich life statement. Now, this is not some vague, distant dream. It is a vivid, incredibly specific description of exactly how you want to spend your typical Tuesday. Not your vacation, your Tuesday. What time do you wake up? Who do you have lunch with? What are you working on? If your current financial habits and your current job aren't moving you geometrically closer to that ideal autonomous Tuesday, well, your financial strategy is fundamentally broken and it absolutely needs recalibration.
And that brings us to our core paradigm shift. The old paradigm is saving for retirement. You know, the whole idea of waiting until the very end of your life when your energy is at its lowest to finally start living. The new paradigm, the lab paradigm, is saving for autonomy. We are taking control of our time right now, immediately. We're using our capital to buy agency today, not 40 years from now.
Finally, Phase 5, your Week 14 task. Here are your 3 exact directives for Week 14 lab members. First up, identify your #1 money dial and spend intentionally on it this week without a single ounce of guilt. Just enjoy it completely. Second, surgically remove a ghost expense. Find one thing you're paying for right now that brings you absolute zero joy and kill it immediately. And third, buy back 1 hour of your life. Pay for the delivery. Hire the lawnmower. I want you to clinically experience exactly what it feels like to be the true owner of your time.
Because once we optimize the output, we have to look at the fuel. Next week, we are officially entering the Career Lab. We'll be looking at the data on how to drastically increase your financial inputs so you can turn all these dials even higher. So make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss that session and you stay firmly in the lab.
I'll leave you with this final thought to process over the coming days as you execute your tasks. Look at your bank accounts, look at your calendar, and ask yourself honestly, are you just saving money, or are you actually designing your life? Because one leads to a high score on a screen, and the other leads to absolute freedom. See you next week, lab members.